ITA, which then regulated commercial television. It was a film about disintegration of morale among American troops in Vietnam, and the American ambassador to Britain then complained to the ITA about it. I remember the late Jeremy Wallington, who was editor of World in Action, telling me how he and the Granada joint chairman, Dennis Foreman, were hauled down from Manchester to the ITA in London and got a rollicking from the chairman, Sir Robert Fraser. They stood their ground and they defended the film very admirably, but as Jeremy Wallington said, they felt they had lost brownie points with the ITA. You were switching from newspapers to television at that time. Was that a shock?
Well, it was a bit of a shock. I mean, I was already a newspaper journalist, and you know, I knew nothing about ITAs and IBAs and so on. I admired World in Action. This was a film for World in Action. And it was a story I'd been working on for quite a long time. And it was about American soldiers, conscripted soldiers, shooting their own officers. I mean, it was the mutiny of a huge army in Vietnam. It was the arrival of the conscripted army and the effect on the war. And I believe that's really got, that and the efforts of the Vietnamese, but that really got America out of Vietnam. But it was just, you couldn't, it was a truth. You know, it was all verified. The witnesses were there, the facts were there, but you just couldn't say it. Yeah. It seems extraordinary now. And the IBA, or as the ITA, as it then was called, was a very political organization. And it became the IBA for many, many years. Before any of my documentaries went to air, I had to submit my scripts, in fact the whole film, to effectively somebody who's an official censor. And they would tell me what I could say or couldn't say. And I had the opportunity sometimes to argue it, but often not. So, but this was so outrageous that we should dare to say that the American army was really falling apart in Vietnam, that Sir Robert Fraser, who was one of those knighted Australians that came here before I did and joined the upper reaches of the establishment, was given some various numbers of quangos, and he finally got this one, said, called me everything under the sun, you know, as a sort of danger, revolutionary, Maoist, Marxist, all those things. But of course, he couldn't say that publicly, but it came back to the company, and Granada Television, which had produced this film,